Most people get this wrong from the very first season. They plant 1,000 square feet of garden and end up with more lettuce than they can eat and almost nothing worth storing. By autumn, they are back at the grocery store for everything that actually matters: the calories, the staples, the food that carries a household through winter. The garden produced a lot, it just did not produce the right thing. That is not a space problem, it is a system problem. 1,000 square feet is roughly the size of a small backyard, and managed as a deliberate system, it can cover up to 80% of a household's real daily food needs. In this video, we are walking through 6 steps to make that happen. Stay through all 6, because each one builds on the last, and missing any one of them is usually exactly why gardens fall short. What 80% actually means. Before step 1, we need to be honest about the claim, because this is where most self-sufficiency conversations go off the rails. 80% does not mean 80% of every calorie you consume. It does not include grains, cooking oils, or processed foods. What it does mean is covering the large majority of your fresh vegetables, a meaningful portion of your calorie-dense staples, protein through legumes, and the high-value items like herbs and berries that cost the most per pound at the store. Defined that way, a well-managed 1,000 square foot garden can genuinely get close to that number, but not in year 1, and not without storage built into the plan. This also depends heavily on your climate. A long-season gardener and a short-season gardener are working with fundamentally different possibilities. The principles apply across both, the results will vary. Step 1. Define what your household actually needs. This is where the system begins, and it is the step almost nobody takes seriously. Before you plan a single bed, sit down and think honestly about what your household eats every week. Not what looks interesting in a seed catalog, what actually gets consumed, what you spend the most money on, and what you would miss most if you stopped buying it. That list is your garden plan. The high-cost items, fresh herbs, salad greens, cherry tomatoes are often the easiest things to grow and deliver the biggest return per square foot. The high-volume staples, potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, dried beans are the crops that provide actual calories and make the difference between a garden that supplements your shopping and one that genuinely reduces your dependence on it. Most gardeners dramatically underplant these because they chase variety instead of volume and end up with a beautiful garden that does not actually feed them. Step 2. Build your calorie strategy first. Most gardens fail not because of pests or poor soil, but because they ignore calories entirely. The calorie crops that work best in a home garden are potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, and dried beans. A single 10 by 10 bed of potatoes grown well can yield 100 pounds of food. 3 or 4 squash plants will produce storage crops that last on a shelf until March. A bed of dried beans delivers shelf-stable protein that needs no refrigeration and no processing beyond drying and storing in a jar. What makes these crops particularly valuable is not just their calorie density but their storability. A tomato harvest lasts a week on the counter. A cured butternut squash sits in your kitchen until February. Dried beans stay good for years. When you are thinking about covering 80% of your food needs across 12 months rather than just through the summer growing season, the crops that store without energy input are the ones doing the heaviest lifting. Plant these first, give them the space they need to deliver real volume, and build everything else around them. Without them, you are growing a supplement. With them, you are growing a food supply. Step 3. Divide your space intentionally. After accounting for walking paths, 1,000 square feet gives you roughly 700 to 800 square feet of actual growing space. That space needs a clear allocation or it fills up with the wrong things. Around half goes to calorie crops. 2 10 by 10 potato beds, 100 square feet for squash, and a 50 square foot bean section covers the bulk of your starch and protein for the year. About a quarter goes to everyday cooking: vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, zucchini, onions, garlic, carrots, and beets. These are the crops your household reaches for in almost every meal through summer and early autumn. The remaining quarter goes to high-value crops: salad, greens, herbs, and whatever specialty produce your household spends the most on, along with your succession plantings and beneficial insect habitat. Step 4. Design the layout so it actually works. Picture your space as a rectangle roughly 25 feet wide by 40 feet long. A 2-foot main path runs down the center, dividing the garden into 2 halves and giving you access to both sides. Narrower 18-inch paths branch off between individual beds. Beds are no wider than 4 feet, the maximum you can reach into comfortably from either side without stepping on the soil. Calorie crops go toward the back or the sides where they can be left largely undisturbed through the season. Trellises for climbing crops: beans, cucumbers, Tomatoes run along the north edge so they do not shade anything behind them. Low-growing, high-attention crops like salad greens, herbs, and root vegetables sit at the front where they are easy to reach and easy to monitor daily. Compost and any utility storage go at one end of the main path, convenient but not taking up growing space. The result is a garden you can walk entirely in 5 minutes, harvest from without doubling back, and maintain without the layout working against you. Step 5. Plan seasonal production so nothing sits idle. The difference between a garden that produces adequately and one that produces impressively almost always comes down to how consistently every bed stays occupied. When spring spinach finishes in early summer, something goes in immediately: cucumbers, beans, a second round of salad greens. When those finish in late summer, kale or a root vegetable carries the bed through until frost. Intercropping adds another layer to this. Lettuce tucked between tomato transplants uses space the tomatoes have not yet claimed, matures before the tomatoes need the room, and shades the soil in a way that retains moisture. Radishes sown between carrot rows come out in 3 weeks, loosening the soil before the carrots need the space to size up. A garden where beds go idle after midsummer is producing at roughly half its potential. Kept in continuous production through succession and intercropping, the same beds earn back the full value of the space. Step 6. Feed the soil so it can feed you. A productive garden does not just take from the soil, it returns to it. And a garden managed for real food production takes a lot from the soil, which means this step is not optional. Compost made from kitchen scraps and spent plant material feeds soil biology, improves structure, and makes nutrients available to roots over time. 2 simple bins, one actively filling, one finishing, is enough to supply a 1,000-square-foot garden with the amendment it needs each season. Mulching beds with straw or dried leaves after planting retains moisture, suppresses weeds, and breaks down gradually to add organic matter to the surface. A mulched garden requires meaningfully less watering than a bare one and produces far less weeding work through the season. Legumes, beans, peas, clover fix atmospheric nitrogen through their roots and deposit it in the soil as they grow, which is why rotating a legume crop through each bed every few years is one of the most effective, low-cost ways to maintain fertility without reaching for a bag of fertilizer. These 3 habits create a closed loop where the garden feeds itself from what it produces. Kitchen scraps become compost, plant waste becomes mulch, legumes replenish what heavy feeders take out. Over time, that loop builds the kind of biologically active soil that makes every other part of the system work: better, stronger plants, better pest resistance, more consistent yields, and less intervention required from you if you have less space. 1,000 square feet is the target we have been building toward, but many people are working with less, and that is worth addressing directly. At 500 square feet, the same system applies with tighter priorities. Dedicate roughly half to 1 calorie crop, a single potato bed or a bean section, and fill the rest with the highest value vegetables your household uses most. Tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, garlic, and a dense salad green section in succession will produce a strong volume of daily cooking vegetables from a compact footprint. You will not hit 80%, but you can cover a significant share of your fresh produce costs, and for many households, that is already a meaningful result. Storage is the part most people skip. Growing food is only half the equation. Without preservation, surplus becomes waste. Curing onions, garlic, and winter squash requires almost no equipment, just dry air and patience, and properly cured crops last months without refrigeration. Root vegetables stored in a cool, dark place hold through winter. Freezing works well for beans, tomato sauce, and most summer vegetables. Drying is particularly good for herbs and hot peppers. A crop eaten in July is one season's harvest. A crop preserved in July is winter food. Storage is not an optional extra, it is what makes the 80% figure possible across the full year. What to expect and what will go wrong. Pests will arrive, some crops will fail, a late frost will kill transplants you thought were safe, a dry stretch will stress plants at exactly the wrong moment. These are the normal conditions of food growing, and every experienced gardener has lost crops they counted on and learned something useful in the process. Year 1 typically covers 20 to 30% of food needs with significant gaps. Year 2, the gaps shrink as you understand your space, your climate, and your soil. Year 3 is where the system starts to feel genuinely productive, where succession timing becomes second nature and you know which crops deliver the best return in your specific conditions. This is built over seasons, not overnight, and that is not a flaw in the approach. It is simply how skill-based systems work. The most common mistake is planting too much variety and not enough volume of what matters most. 20 different kinds of tomatoes is interesting. 6 plants of one reliable variety that performs well in your climate is food. The second mistake is starting bigger than your current skill level can support. A 500 square foot garden managed well will outproduce a 1,000 square foot garden managed poorly every single time. Start with what you can genuinely maintain, learn it thoroughly, and expand from a position of competence rather than optimism. The third mistake is growing without a preservation plan. 100 pounds of tomatoes with nowhere to put them is a stressful week and a lot of compost. Know before you plant how you are going to handle the harvest when it arrives all at once. How much time this actually takes. This is the question most guides skip, and the gap between expectation and reality is one of the most common reasons people abandon productive gardens before they hit their stride. In the height of the growing season, a well-managed 1,000 square foot garden requires roughly 30 to 45 minutes of daily attention, harvesting, checking plant health, watering where needed, and the small ongoing tasks that prevent minor issues from becoming serious ones. A garden tended daily is almost always in better shape than one given 2 hours once a week, because daily attention catches things while they are still easy to handle. The workload is not evenly spread. Spring planting is the most intensive. Window bed preparation, transplanting, and setting up trellises all happen in a compressed few weeks. Midsummer is lighter in terms of new work, though harvest can be relentless when multiple crops peak at once. Late summer and autumn bring the second heavy period, preserving the harvest, pulling spent plants, and getting autumn successions in before the season closes. Plan for that rhythm and it becomes manageable. Ignore it and the garden tends to win. What separates the households that grow a meaningful portion of their own food from the ones that grow a little salad is not land, it is intention. It is allocating space to calories first. It is keeping beds occupied through succession. It is preserving what you cannot eat fresh. It is accepting that the first year is school and showing up anyway. You do not need more land, you need a better system, and now you have one. What would you grow first? Let us know in the comments, and if you are working with less than 1,000 square feet, tell us what you are managing in the space you have. If this gave you a clearer picture of what food self-sufficiency actually looks like, share it with someone planning their first serious garden. And if you want more practical guides to growing real food from real spaces, subscribe. We are just getting started.